and welcome to another episode of the Don't Get Me Wrong podcast. My name is Zoe Lulinski, and today I'm going to be talking about March Madness. We're heading into the Final Four, which will be going on this weekend. I'm going to be talking about women's and men's side of the Final Four. Honestly, both of them are super exciting, I would say. Overall, I think the men's March Madness is pretty lackluster compared to other years, but at the same time, having four number ones, I think, is pretty exciting. I mean, they're arguably the four best teams coming into it. So they're all very talented and super exciting to watch. So I'll be talking about that. I'll be talking about some draft predictions heading into April, since it is April now. Time is flying by. I got to start with that. Time is absolutely flying by. I can't believe it's April already. Off-season workouts for NFL are going to start soon. The draft is at the end of the month. I'm super excited for that. I'm hopefully going, so I'm super excited to go to my first ever draft if I do end up going there. But, anyway, let's get into it. To start off, so we have Auburn versus Florida for one game of the men's bracket, and then the other side is Houston versus Duke. And originally I had Florida beating Duke in the championship, so I have 2 out of the Final Four teams still in it. Unfortunately, I think my bracket is pretty busted. Most of the people in the league that I'm playing with have Florida winning, and I'm behind a lot of the people that have Florida winning, so I really don't think I stand a chance to win in my league. Hopefully I still win in my prediction that Florida wins, though. I mean, I think the likelihood is pretty solid. I'm sticking with what I originally had. I'm sticking with my gut with Florida beating Duke. However, Duke is, actually insane. I seriously don't think they have a weakness. They're playing incredibly against every team that they're playing. Cooper Flagg is insanely fun to watch, so I'm super excited to watch him again. To go over my predictions, I just think overall Houston, they're really good, but they're a bit of a shorter team if you look at it. And going up against Cooper Flagg and that Duke team, I think they might struggle a little bit. I actually even had Houston losing to Gonzaga early in the bracket, so, I mean, I was very wrong on that, obviously, of course, but, I think Duke is the best team in the country right now, so they're hard to beat. And then for Auburn versus Florida, Auburn overall, I think, plays a little bit less physically than the other 3 teams that are in this Final Four, but I think all 4 of these teams are going to be insanely competitive. In my league still, there's definitely a couple people that still have chances to take the lead and take the win. There's only one person that took Auburn in my league. A couple people took Duke. No one took Houston, surprisingly. I usually am the one that goes with Houston, but I wasn't feeling it this year. But one thing I have to say, I don't know the odds of this, but the same person has won in my league the last 4 years. And mind you, this is a league of 13 people, so you have a 1 out of 13 chance every single season to win our little league that we're playing, and she's won 4 times in a row. She picked UConn the last 2 years, obviously, but just absolutely insane. I don't know what the odds of that are. The amount of money she has made based on the money everyone puts in is insane. I'm dumbfounded by it, honestly, and she's actually still has a chance to win this year even. She's top 3, top 4 in the odds right now. She picked Florida, so I almost just want to see her win again. That'd be insane. 5 years in a row. That's got to start to be a record at some point. Moving on to the women's side of the bracket, we got UCLA versus UConn, and then we have South Carolina versus Texas. I think it's kind of a no-brainer. I think overall every year the women's bracket tends to be more lopsided in the fact that the good teams are absolutely dominating the lower seeds. We have 1, 2 seed in the Final Four, and the rest are 3. So I think this is kind of rare that there's less 1 seeds in the women's bracket than there are in the men's. I mean, the men's bracket, all 4 of them are number 1 seeds, and that's the only the second time it's happened in the history of March Madness. So, I mean, we're watching history happen. But my prediction, I got UConn versus South Carolina, and then I got UConn winning it. Paige Beckers and that UConn team is just so fun to watch, and you got 2 legendary coaches that are going at each other if it does happen. And then with these Final Four teams that are in it, you got Lauren Betts and Paige Beckers, who are 2 of the top women basketball players in the country right now, in college. I'm still really saddened to see. It's really unfortunate that Juju Watkins tore her ACL in the game previous to UConn for USC. I feel like we see so many ACL tears or just long season-ending injuries, and you really hate to see it. I mean, Juju Watkins is one of the best women's basketball players in the country right now. She's so fun to watch, so electric. What she does for that USC team is insane. But there's lots of depth for South Carolina, so that's another reason why I do have them going back to the championship. They won last season against Iowa. They have a lot of depth, like I mentioned, with 6 players scoring a decent amount of points for them every single game. They don't have a single player that shoots over 11 shots a game, which is insanely impressive, especially like nowadays I feel like you see like a star player for every team, so I think it's really impressive and it's really cool to see that. But I mean, I just have too much fun watching UConn play whenever I see them on TV. I mean, it's hard to stop watching them. So I have UConn over South Carolina for Paige Becker's last college basketball game before she heads to the WNBA. And then heading into NBA talk, the Bulls in March. I don't know if anyone has watched the Bulls or heard about any of the wins that they've had, but that one win they had against the Lakers where they came back from a 5-point deficit within the last 10 seconds of the game. The teamwork that they're showing, they're playing lights out. Kobe White, player of the month this past month of March. He's played amazing. I think he's averaging around 27 points per game right now. Absolutely insane. His 3-point shooting, awesome. Super fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, just the Bulls, after they traded some of their top players away, they have looked like a completely different team, and they clinched the play-in spot. So I'm super excited to see how that turns out. They're one of the hottest teams in the league right now. So I'm curious to see how far that takes them, especially once playoff basketball starts. And then speaking of insanely hot play, Nikola Jokic and Stephen Curry both went absolutely off. I mean, in total, if you add up the total points they had, it was over 100 points that just the two players scored. Jokic scored 61 and Stephen Curry scored 52. Except somehow the Nuggets still lost. I mean, it was a really entertaining game to watch. It was very competitive against the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves won it pretty much on a buzzer beater. They got fouled on a last-second 3 and then won the game there. You don't see that very often. Unfortunately, the Nuggets did have a missed layup at the end of the game that probably would have clinched the game for them. Nikola Jokic is just absolutely insane. He's won 3 MVPs in the last 4 years, and honestly, I think he's on track to win this one again. Like, he's playing lights out. This is probably arguably his best year he's had, and he's literally getting better just every single year. He looks amazing, and I think the funniest thing about it is that if you hear any of Nikola Jokic's interviews or anything he says, just the way he acts when he plays and in the off season, you'd think he hates basketball. And you know what? Maybe he does. But he's also one of the best players in the league. I don't know how he does it because he does not touch a basketball in the offseason. He goes back to Serbia, parties, has a lot of fun, sees his brother, sees his family, and then just comes back to America every single season and then plays an MVP caliber season every single season. Even when Joel Embiid won, 2 years ago, won MVP, Nikola Jokic was still in conversation. I mean, he's insane. He's an insane player. He's super fun to watch, too, for a big man. I mean, his passing is insane. He can shoot threes well. He's got a complete game, and he's super fun to watch. And then, of course, Stephen Curry, for how old he's getting, it's crazy to say that, 30s is old, but for how old he's getting, 52 points, the amount of threes he made yesterday is insane. Those are 2 super awesome, fun games to watch, especially coming late into the season with playoff basketball starting soon. That's the type of energy I want to see. So, super, super fun games to watch this past month, and hopefully it continues through April. On a different note, though, speaking of April, the NFL draft is at the end of this month, so I'm going to go into and just predict, do my first mock of the top 10 picks. Titans pick first, and I have them picking Cam Ward. No offense to Will Levis, but I think with the first pick, you just need to take a quarterback. Cam Ward is the clear number 1, in my opinion, at quarterback. And then for the Browns at number 2, I have Abdul Carter. He is arguably the best player in this draft, and I think it's smart to take an edge position no matter who you are. I mean, that's always going to help. Best player available for the Browns. They do need a quarterback, but I can also, there's a lot of buzz with them and Kirk Cousins. I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be on the Falcons by the start of the next season, and with the way the quarterback market is filling out in this offseason, the Browns are going to be one of the only teams in that category of options for Kirk Cousins. Giants, they just got Russell Wilson. I don't think they need to reach for a quarterback right now. Taking Travis Hunter, who is, again, one of the top draft prospects in the draft. Travis Hunter, his versatility is insane, playing defense and offense in college. I'm curious to see what NFL teams think of him and, which position he's going to end up playing. Giants, I think they're going to go Travis Hunter. And then the Patriots, I think anything to help Drake May is their number one priority. And right now, I think that's taking an offensive lineman. So I have them taking Will Campbell. The Jaguars, I have them taking Mason Graham. Again, it's always helpful to get an edge like Mason Graham or like Abdul Carter. And then for the Raiders, I have them taking Ashton Gianti. There's a lot of options they could have gone here. They could have taken an edge. They could have taken another position. But they definitely need some running back help. I think if he didn't go this high to the Raiders, the Bears would be another very likely option, especially with Ben Johnson. Everyone knows how much Ben Johnson loves running backs. They took Jahmyr Gibbs super high a couple years ago, and that running back room for the Lions is one of the best in the league, in my opinion. And then for the Jets, I have them taking Tyler Warren. Anything to help Justin Fields right now, I think, is the way to go. Getting a tight end like Tyler Warren. There's two of the top players in the draft this year are tight ends. So there's two very good tight ends on the market. Getting a player to pair with Justin Fields other than Garrett Wilson, I think Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields are going to have very good chemistry. Obviously, they played together before. But getting Tyler Warren, Justin Fields does like throwing two tight ends. And if they can get some chemistry going right away, I think that's going to be a big option for Justin Fields. And then for the Panthers, I have them taking Jalen Walker, another edge taken. And then I have the Saints taking Michael Williams. Again, another edge. I think defense is probably a priority for the Saints. And then for the Panthers, of course you want to help Bryce Young, but it sounds like they're feeling good about their receivers right now. And they could always use help on defense. And then for the Bears, without Ashton Gianti, I don't think they should reach for a running back unless they trade back and take Omarion Hampton a couple picks later. The running back draft class is absolutely stacked this year. There's many, many options at running back, even in the second to third rounds. I have them taking, and excuse me if I pronounce his name wrong, but Armand Mambu. At this point, I think he's going to be one of the best players available. He's offensive line. You can never have enough offensive line in the NFL. They did a lot to bolster their offensive line already with trades, but I think getting another rookie to continue to develop, and just for depth-wise even, is a good idea, especially at the tackle. Braxton Jones is still coming back from injury, and of course I think he'll be fine by the start of the season, but just getting another guy to help out with that and compete is a good idea. And again, like I've mentioned, I don't think running backs should be reached on. And, of course, every draft probably has, one or two solid running backs, say Saquon, CMC. But other than that, most running backs only last a couple of years. They're super easy to find. I know Ben Johnson really likes having a stacked running back room. We have DeAndre Swift, and getting a guy like Omarion Hampton or Ashton Gianti could be really useful. But if you're in the top 10 and you're taking a running back other than Gianti, I think it's reaching. And you can get a really solid running back later on in the round or later on in other rounds. Just to talk about the Steelers' quarterback situation real quick, they have a lot of weapons surrounding that offense, but they have no quarterback right now. Of course, Aaron Rodgers is debating probably between the Vikings and the Steelers. I think the Giants are out of that conversation now after signing Russell Wilson. If the Steelers don't get Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, they're screwed to start the season. The only other option would be maybe Kirk Cousins, but I haven't heard any buzz about that. And then maybe taking, somehow if Shader Sanders falls to them, then they could be solid getting Shader Sanders with DK Metcalf and George Pickens. But the Vikings don't need Aaron Rodgers. They have J.J. McCarthy, and I'm confident J.J. McCarthy would be able to play pretty damn well in that offense with Kevin O'Connell. And then just the amount of weapons the Vikings have, any quarterback is going to succeed in that offense. The Steelers need Aaron Rodgers at this point, so they should do everything they can to get him. Aaron Rodgers in that offense can play pretty well as well. With Jalen Warren, DK Metcalf, solid offensive line, really good defense, and then George Pickens. I mean, you got a lot of weapons on that team. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a need. You got Jackson Dart, who can maybe fall to them too, but I don't think he's an immediate starter. And then heading into some recent news with the NFL owners meeting, there's a lot of changes coming to the NFL and a lot of rules that also haven't been passed. Some the big topics, the ones that have been talked about the most, are obviously the tush push. Will that be banned? No, it won't be banned, and I don't think it should be. There's no reason for it. I mean, if your team can't do it, that's a shame, but there's no science showing that it causes more injuries, and there's just certain teams that perform it better. I mean, the Eagles, that's a specialty for them. They're really good at it. The offensive line knows how to block in that situation, and Jalen Hurts is an insanely strong quarterback that is an insanely good runner and knows how to run that play. Teams like the Packers, who want to get it banned, maybe should just work on that. Anyway, they're also voted to expand replay assist. I think that's a good idea. I mean, anything to help the refs. The refs have been struggling the past few years, or really fans have just been getting angrier and angrier with refs, which, I mean, we've seen in almost every sport as of recently. So I think getting anything to look into just the more obvious calls and evidence, I think, is a good idea. And then they're changing the overtime rule, which is my favorite change of all the changes they've shown. Both teams are going to be able to get the ball in overtime, which I think makes a massive difference and what it should do. I mean, I don't like the college overtimes per se, but they changed it to what they have in playoff overtimes, which I think is a great idea. And then just for touchbacks and kickoffs, they're moved to the 35-yard line now. So I'm super excited to see these in action next season. That's all I have for today. Don't get me going, and I'll see you guys next time.